Welcome everybody to the Rob and Ace Rob Show. I'm Ace. With me as always is Rob. Today's topic, we're going to go over a viral video we saw recently about something that affects all of us. And it was a TikTok and it's on YouTube. It was about a guy describing his divorce and everything that was affected by it. I mean, you can go YouTube, TikTok divorce video. It comes right up. You can, look at it whenever you want to, after you like and subscribe our channel, obviously.
Right.
But he goes through a laundry list of stuff. And I guess in TikTok, I'm old. Look, I'll just put it up. I have no idea how TikTok works. I'm way past the age of caring.
Yeah, that's the line, man. I'm way.
I'm not even going to try. I don't care. I don't need to see people dancing or,
That's what I thought it was for.
I thought that's what it was, just kids doing stupid dance moves to bad hip hop. But apparently it's not. Apparently this guy's just asking questions of random people, and this was one of the questions. And he goes through a laundry. He looks like a 40-year-old white guy, like in his 40s, and he says he was married for 17 years. He lost $100,000 out of his 401k, a whole bunch of assets. He lost the house, the car. He has to pay child support for their daughter, which is a bigger deal after that he later explains. He says he suffers from emotional distress. He can't trust anybody. He lost faith in humanity, blah, blah, blah.
That's all the extra stuff I'm not in.
Yeah. And then he goes into more detail and he explains the situation more in depth that, they were together for 17 years. She had a daughter when he met her, so he adopted her and became her stepfather. Then they tried to have their own kid of their own. She couldn't get pregnant for some reason. They were doing in vitro, didn't really work. Eventually she had a kid, and then he finds out years later that she had three separate affairs on him, and the child is actually not his, it's his neighbor's. So a super effed up story. Not going to deny that she's a horrible person and that was effed up. But it brings the overall topic of, is marriage really worth it nowadays? Is that something we want to do as men? Like, is that something that you want to go into it? And I'm going to be honest, I don't know where you stand, Rob, but I'm all for marriage. I've been divorced. I still look at marriage as a healthy institution, and it's a stable, good one when you're doing it correctly. Like, what do you think?
I think it's deeper than that. Like, I will say this is my stance on marriage. Marriage, like any relationship, in my opinion, only goes well if it is acknowledged that there are two specific gender roles, and that's going to sound archaic and old in 1950s, whatever, times have changed, that, and the other.
Don't worry, it's not more archaic than the actual thought of marriage, which happened in BC times.
Right. Which was about property, and agriculture. It only works, A, if there are plans to have a family. B, if the man is the patriarch of said family. C, if it does not take place in the United States or any Western country.
England has pretty much the same laws. Like,
right.
When you say Western,
well, that's the Western world. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, see, I have a different outlook, and it ties into this TikTok video because he puts out this video with the vibe of you should feel sorry for him. And I don't at all. I don't feel sorry at all for any part of it. Even the woman cheating on him and having a baby by the neighbor and claiming it was his. I still don't, because you got to know what you're getting into. You got to know that there's, in this country, in almost every single state, divorce favors the woman, especially when kids are involved. You got to know going in that's a very good possibility. It seems like, and you can tell me if you thought differently, Rob, but it seemed like in the video, she was a stay-at-home mom and he was the breadwinner.
Right.
don't bitch and moan that she took all this money if that was the scenario.
Right. No, that's the thing. You are the person providing the lifestyle, and what you want is her at home taking care of the kids. But if that's going to go sour, you didn't give her the opportunity. You didn't allow her the opportunity to develop any sort of skills that she can make money on.
Exactly. Like I've been through divorce, so I'm speaking from experience. And yes, it's only in one state, New Jersey. I'm sure in other states the laws and statutes are different, but there's one thing that's every state follows. Once you're married, all proceeds are split 50-50. That's just a fact. No matter what you do before marriage, once you're married, everything you earn is yours and hers.
Right. It's a unit.
It's just the law. You can say it's not fair. You can say I worked extra hard for this. The law does not care. Like the whole Kobe line, she wasn't shooting with him in the gym. The law does not care. She's doing her part, he's doing his part, you split it equally. That's just how it works. If your wife is working and making an honest living, they're not going to just give her all that she gave him. And to be honest, I mean, all that he gave her, and to be honest, he got off light. Like, he was describing all the stuff that he paid. He could have had lifetime alimony. He could have
also depended on the state.
That's the point. It's depending on the state, but in most states, if she's a stay-at-home mom and she has no income, she can very well fight for that, and most times get it, because it's 17 years. It's not like it was a 2-year marriage.
The concept of income is important in every state.
And to be honest, to me, as like, call me feminist or whatever, that's fair to a certain degree. If you're going to keep a woman out of the workforce for over a decade and a half, what job is she going to get after that?
Right.
Like, her resume says, oh, I used to go to Blockbuster Video. That's literally the last time she worked. Those are a viable.
I'll do you one better. For the audience who doesn't know me specifically, you know that I run a martial arts business, which it'll come into play later on too, because we had kids class today, and actually there's one of our guys just recently put his kid in it, and he's divorced, and his ex-wife was here today, so but that's here nor there. For a second I almost forgot why I brought up the
the dojo.
Right. Yeah. Man, what were we just talking about? That really is slipping my mind.
You're talking about divorce and that you're old and your memory's gone.
Yeah, clearly I'm having a stroke.
Apparently all those kicks to the brain damaged you a little bit.
Terrible.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But no, you were talking about, you had divorce, and I brought up the fact that I think alimony is fair to an extent, especially in his situation. You kept a woman out of the workforce for 17 years.
Yes. Now I remember. Okay, so as a person who is in a position where I'm occasionally I have to occasionally hire someone. I'm not hiring you because you have no experience, and I need experience. What do you like?
And that's any job. It's going to be the only job she's going to be able to get are minimum wage jobs. Even if she was a high-priced attorney, she hasn't practiced in 17 years. She's not going to get another attorney job or another law job or another job that was equal to what she had before 17 years later without practicing at all. That's in any profession. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So him complaining about giving up this and giving up that, like, cry me a fucking river. I don't care.
And here's the other thing. Like, if you have children, whether you get divorced or whatever happens, and I think most guys will acknowledge this, and you've definitely acknowledged this. Whether you have any feelings towards an ex-wife or not, pick this person to be the mother of your children. So even if there's malice, you know that your kid is not better off if your ex-wife is not in some way properly taken care of, because your kid's going to be bouncing around between the two of you, and the kid cannot be seeing horrible living conditions for one parent and then great living conditions for the other.
Yeah. And if it's such a big thing, you raise the kid.
Right. Yeah. And
If that's
it's a messed up thing to do to a kid, to put them in a situation like that they never asked for. Yeah, it's a messed up situation to put your kids through.
and I can speak from experience. Like I said, I got a son, and me and my ex-wife are divorced. You don't want to have a messy situation, because one, it's going to build resentment. Your kid's going to see that. And that all this is doing is molding his future outlooks on relationships, or her future outlooks on relationships. You don't want to have a bad situation. You don't want your kid, you live in a mansion and your ex-wife lives in a 1-bedroom studio. You don't want that. Because one, you're going to be
vice versa. Because
Well,
that's
vice versa.
what usually happens is the opposite. It's vice versa.
Yeah. And that's the one that's what he was claiming. Like, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment and I had to give her the house. Yeah. Yeah. You pick,
That's what it is.
you, like you said, you pick this person. No one gets married on accident. You picked the person that you married. And it's something that you're not forced at gunpoint. There are no more shotgun weddings. I don't live in the sticks. I don't know if people still do that, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen. You pick the person you're with. You pick poorly early, you're going to pay dearly later. That's just how life works. Don't complain about it when shit goes bad. Plan for it. Like, I'm a comic book nerd, for people who don't know. One of my favorite superheroes is Batman. Batman is a guy who plans for everything. He hopes things go well. He hopes he never has to do the stuff that he plans for, but he still has a fucking plan for it. Even that C- movie, Batman vs Superman, was a perfect example. He didn't want to have to fight Superman or kill him, but he had the plan just in case. He said, if there's a 1% certain chance that this guy goes rogue, we have to take him out. That's just unfortunately, that's the stakes of it. In a marriage, you
Very
have a
realistic
plan.
take.
What'd you say?
Very realistic take in that sense. And like, let's see, like, I'm not here for how the world should be. I'm here for how the world is. It's that.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. Like, you can hope your marriage works out. You want your marriage. No, you shouldn't go into your marriage thinking you're going to get divorced at some point, but you should be planning for it. You don't want to pull the trigger, but you want to make sure that if it does happen, neither of you are living in the gutter. What's the perfect way to do that? Prenups. I like the whole concept of a prenup. Most people think it's for the rich and wealthy. No, it's for the poor people. That's what prenups are really for. Because if it's the old Chris Rock joke, if I'm making 100 million and I got to give up 50, I'm living fine. If I'm making 100,000 and I got to give up 50, I got to move back in with my mother. Like, you need to have that honest conversation, because it's not about, you don't think your marriage is going to work. You can draw a prenup up however you want. You can put alimony in a prenup. You can put child support payments in a prenup. Everything you can do after a divorce, you can do before the marriage. You can have paperwork documenting what needs to happen. That way, this whole TikTok video never would have happened. If he, like, I don't want to insult the guy. I don't know him. In all honesty, he seems like a beta male. He seems like a guy who got ran over.
Yeah.
If he
I don't
had
think
an
it should
honest,
be like a crime, but
no, it's not. But I don't want to. Like, nobody wants to hear they're a beta male. Nobody likes
Right,
that. Nobody,
right.
nobody like if you're bad at something, you don't want people to acknowledge how bad you are at it. Like, poor people don't want to be called poor, even though they are poor. They don't want you bringing it up. So I don't want to. This guy seems like a beta. You might be a great guy. You might be a loving father. You seem like a decent guy. The sad story didn't hit me. That's just me. I don't have emotions. But you could have avoided this entire TikTok video, entire divorce fiasco, by just protecting yourself and having an honest conversation before marriage. Like, these are things
if we're being honest, there's a number of things he should have been doing, not just.
I'm just talking about, because he does 2 TikToks, 2 videos. The first video, he spends a good, it's like, I think it's like 30 or 45 seconds long. He spends a bulk of it talking about his financial losses. Then he talks to talk
All right,
about
well,
emotional
yeah, you
stuff.
should have planned better for that.
Yeah. So if these financial losses hurt so bad, you know what you should have did? Had a prenup.
Put it in crypto. I mean,
Even then, you can take crypto as financial. She can take that. That's not even my thing. Like,
well, some guys are getting away with that now because they're putting a bunch of their stuff in crypto and just not talking about it.
Yeah, they're hiding money. That hiding money has been around forever. It'll never go away. I'm not going to say I did that, but next question. My point is this: before marriage, that's one thing you can do. During the divorce proceeding, you know what you can do? Be a fucking man. Put it out on the table that this is what needs to happen. Don't let her and her attorney that you probably have to pay for dictate the terms. You, in most states, you have to hire especially if your wife doesn't have any income, you have to pay for her attorney. Right. You also have to pay for your attorney. Newsflash, neither attorney is there for the person they're representing. They're there for themselves. Divorce attorneys are not your friends. They're not your buddies. They're not your aces. They're not your best friends. They're not there to help you. They're there to make it go out as long as possible to get paid as much as possible and hopefully win for their client. But if they don't win, they still want to get paid. You could wrap up a divorce proceeding in a day.
Yep.
But they generally drag out for months. Why do you think that is? Because they get paid hourly.
Yeah.
They don't get paid based on a win-loss record. This isn't a baseball pitcher.
It's not the UFC.
Yeah, it's not the UFC. It's not boxing. They don't care about their record. They care about how long this trial took, because every day it goes, I get paid. Go into it knowing that. 2, have your list of demands. Have your list of things you'll bend on. Have your list of things you will never bend on. Like if you have a kid and one of the things your ex is trying to do is take away your visitation, and that's a no-no for you, fight. And keep fighting until you win. Don't just give up and then complain about it later.
You gotta like to borrow a phrase, actually, you gotta put your dick on the table.
Yeah.
You gotta be like, listen, I'm not paying a cent for a kid I'm not gonna see. I will go to jail before I give you $1.
Like I'll give you, insight into my divorce. When it came to divorce, like I've had family members who've been divorced multiple times. So even before I went into divorce, I knew a lot about it. So when it came down to divorce, she wanted to go through the regular route of hiring an attorney, doing a mediator, blah, blah, blah. And all I did, again, we're going through a divorce at this time. We're not at each other's throats, but we're not on good terms. Divorce is never like a happy-go-lucky. It's not like a breakup. It's not a happy situation. You're gonna have a problem. I sat her down and I told her, you don't want to go through with this, because if you go through the legal route, I'm going to be forced to not be able to work with you. If the judge says I have to pay $500 a month and you think $700 is enough, you're not going to get a penny more than $500 from me. I don't care what happens in your life. I don't care if, your car broke down and you need extra money this month because you have to get the car fixed to go to work to pay for. I don't care. You're getting $500 because that's what the judge told me to pay. And I'm probably going to pay faster to get out of paying child support earlier. You're not going to be happy with the situation. So let's keep it out of the courts and let's work with each other so that way we're on good terms. If you give somebody a win-lose situation, they can be hard-headed and pick the losing side. That's their choice. But most times they're going to pick the winning side because it's going to work out for them. Because again, if the court had told me, hey, Mr. Ace, you have to pay her, let's say a random number, $645.38. How much do you think she was going to get every month? Not $645.39. She was going to get the exact amount every single month to the penny. Doesn't matter. Oh, my leg got chopped off. I need extra money this
Auto
month.
pay, exact, like typed in the exact amount.
Reoccurring payments from my checking account on the exact day of the month, every month for the exact amount. And it would never change no matter what happened. Because you've already you forced my hand. We could have done it the easy way. You chose the hard way. You live with your choice. If you guys haven't realized that by now, I'm very consistent. I'm all about choices and consequences in life. I don't feel pity for people when they make a choice. If you're forced into something, that's different. But when you made a choice and it goes bad, that's part of what choices are.
What a perfect setup for the next thing I wanted to mention. That was Dennis Rodman.
I'm good at this.
That was the alley-oop.
I do this.
Right into the and
I'm not Jordan, but I'm Steph Curry.
Right.
I make a shot.
Like that was brilliant because that applies when that is your kid.
Yeah.
Now in this guy's scenario where this is where I sort of deviate and I get like pissed off is he found out it's not his kid. You by default should automatically get less. And it shouldn't be so cut and dry. The courts decide this when they find out that information. Like that is such a not cared about issue today. And it's in fact mocked. Instead, you see it's celebrated whenever someone said, like, it's like, oh, I'm not the stepdad, I'm the dad who stepped. Dude, it's not your kid.
I'm obviously I'm on a different page because when you have a kid, you understand how connected they get to you. Now, hold on. I'm not going to say it's right what happened because it's not. It's wrong. Like a fat bitch should beat the shit out of her. He should hire a fat bitch just to punch her in the stomach at least 7 times. Like one for every day of the week. She should
Patrice, did you borrow that from Patrice?
No, that's borrowed from me. I would tell people all the time, I'll get a fat bitch from North to beat the shit out of you. Because I'm not gonna put my hands on you. I'm not gonna hit a woman, but I'll find a fat bitch that will. I don't believe she's a good person for doing that. But on the flip side, you know what happens during every baby that's born? There's a possibility of a paternity test. This is why I called him a beta male. You did in vitro. You probably were over the moon. I remember when my wife told me she was pregnant, I was over the moon. I told everybody I possibly could, probably the day I found out. Yes, except for the people she wanted me to wait. I couldn't wait to tell people. I was ecstatic. But you know what you should do? If you're doing in vitro and she hasn't been able to get pregnant for a long time and the baby comes out and the doctor says, hey, do you want to do a paternity test, Mr. TikTok? If you want to be a sneaky piece of shit, you say no, and then you pull the doctor to the side and say, here's my cup of pee, figure it out. Here's my dental.
I would say yes.
Here's my mouth swab.
Her face.
That's my point. If you want to be sneaky.
The second she gave birth that she's crying with my baby in her arms, I'd be like, yeah, and we're doing a paternity test.
Yeah, if you want to be
sneaky. Her in the eye as she's crying.
Yeah, that's my point. You want to be sneaky? By all means. Lie and then give them the swab and figure that shit out. If you want to be upfront, because they'll ask you in front of the female. It happened to me. We were married. This wasn't like a girl I knocked up. We were married before she got pregnant. This is my wife at the time. And the doctor says, Mr. Ford, do you want to have a paternity test? And you know what I said? Yeah. I
mean, the funny thing about that is for those unfamiliar with Ace, Ace is a black man and his ex-wife was a white woman.
Italian, barely.
Italian. And your son is clearly your son.
Oh yeah, I didn't need a paternity test. I did not need one. My son came out looking exactly like me.
Came out with your facial hair pattern.
My genes are strong. It's just a simple fact. If that kid was anybody else's, that's magic. It's impossible for that to be the case. I could, if we went to Maury, he would look at me like, get the fuck out of here. No, we're not doing this one. Like I've done some fun ones, but this I'm not even going to take a chance on. But my point is this: even if the kid looks like you, even if there's a 1% of doubt, do it. And if you don't, oh well, that's your loss. You can't complain about it later.
I would do it even as a source of pride. I'm like, yes, I want that proof. I want that certificate. It's like getting your black belt.
Yep. And that's the thing, you can do it at any time. You can do it before the baby is born. We had ours before the baby was born. The doctor did it. It was before the baby was actually physically born. You can do it after the baby's born. You can take your son or daughter for a walk right over to the doctor's office without your wife knowing and figure that shit out. If you sign the birth certificate and don't question paternity for like 10 or 12, let's say, I don't know how old the kid is that he's questioning, but let's say she's 9 years old or he's 9 years old. That's 9 years this kid has called you dad. You're the kid's dad now. I don't care what DNA says at this point. You're the only dad this kid knows. You chose this route. Don't complain about it later. That, again, this is my point.
It's a nightmare situation. It really
is. It fair to you that you stepped up when you probably shouldn't have? No, but you did. Life isn't about fair. Like only kids care about if the world is fair. Only kids should say the phrase, well, that's not fair.
There's someone else who cares if the world is fair, but we don't want to be that offensive.
No. And I'm not even going to put that, because I'm not even going to go that route. Only childlike minds.
There we go. That's good.
Care about fairness, because life is never been and never will be fair. It's about getting the best outcomes. For every billionaire out there, there's an army of people he fucked over. Personally, not even fourth party fucked over, personally fucked over. For every Mother Teresa who's lived a beautiful life, there's a Donald Trump. Life ain't fair. Don't expect a fair outcome, and don't complain when shit don't work out your way. Fix it. That goes in my last thing about divorce, and I'll turn it over to you after that. Be a fucking man. Like, oh, my ex-wife, she's taking everything I got. She's being so outrageous with the divorce. Well, how about you step up and put your fucking foot down? Is it going to work out 100% of the time? No, but if you've already established, if you have a pattern of establishing that you will not take shit, she won't give you shit, even in the divorce proceedings. I know, because again, I've been through it. Is every woman the same? No. Is every man the same? No. But if you have that respect doesn't go away. Even after divorce, the respect will not go away. Me and my ex-wife will have arguments, we'll fight, we'll go back and forth about different things, but there's always going to be mutual respect, because that was built up from the beginning of the relationship. If she thinks she can walk over you, why do you think she's not going to do that in a divorce? If she fucked 3 dudes outside of the marriage that you didn't know about, you think she respected you?
She checked out a long time ago.
Yeah, like she doesn't respect you anyway. So why do you think she's going to take it easy in a divorce? Protect yourself.
And as much as I don't want to be a guy who attacks to kick a guy while he's down, but she got on 3 dudes, and I know that it might be wrong politically to say this, but that's your fault, bro.
No, it's not wrong, and it's 100% accurate.
It's your fault.
Every time somebody cheats on you, I'm not going to say it's your fault. But if you've been married for 17 years, one, you probably got some strange too. And if you didn't, what the fuck were you doing? 2, if you were so oblivious to an entire to a household that your woman fucked around and had a kid on you, you weren't there. You weren't mentally there enough, and you allowed that to happen. It's just a simple fact.
Physically too. We talked about this in an earlier episode. I think it was about cheating or sexual. It was something sexual.
Cheating doesn't exist.
Right.
Fake news.
Yeah. We we were talking about the male sex drive versus the female sex drive, and how women love to talk about how, like, oh, I'm just as horny as dudes. Oh, I love sex just as much as men. They don't, but that doesn't mean they don't need it.
Exactly.
And if you're not giving it to her, she's got someone else in line.
It goes back to one of the things Kevin Samuels says a lot that I agree with 100%. When women talk about, oh, this guy is going to cheat on me, well, why should he be able to cheat on me? He says, well, why aren't you draining his balls dry every chance you get so he doesn't want to cheat on you? So he doesn't even have the energy to cheat on you. As a man, you got to do the same thing. Like, if your woman's horny, you got to settle. Men, we all know, as horny as we are, there's times when you're like, fuck, I don't really want to have sex right now. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Especially when you're an adult and you've worked a 10, 12, 14, 18-hour day. You may not want to go out to have sex with somebody, but you fucking do it.
Especially
you grab a Blue Chew, you get a Viagra, you pop some ginseng pills, you do whatever you got to do, and you work that bitch to the ground.
A little cocaine on it.
I'm not going to go that far.
No, that's a Tracy Morgan reference, everybody.
Yeah, but you do what you got to do. You can't, because if you're okay, what you're not doing, a dirty motherfucker around the street will.
What people don't understand is there are two functions for sex. There's the male function and the female function in terms of the connection. Not because there's all sorts of functions for sex, but in terms of the connection, sex is supposed to, when it's from a woman to a man, make him feel like a man. On the flip side, sex doesn't make a woman feel like a woman. What sex makes a woman feel is that she is with a man.
It's that emotional fulfillment.
If you don't make her feel like she's with a man, she needs to feel like she's with a man. This is a biological thing where it comes from, do I feel like I'm with someone who's making me feel safe? Because that's part of our job.
And if you
feel safe.
If you're being honest with yourself, like if you've gone 3, 4, 5 months without having sex, that's your fucking problem. If your wife is saying she doesn't want to do it constantly, what are you going to do? Get up and get some pussy or be miserable. If you're not giving up the dick on a regular, if you're not giving her that emotional connection, if you're not, when she wants to cuddle and doing all the stuff that she likes, she's going to get it from somewhere else, just like you're going to get it from somewhere else. So unless your wife is just a raging whore, which you should have known, if like after 17 years, you should have seen some signs, then she's probably cheating because you're leaving something away from her. You're leaving something out of the relationship that she craves. Women crave attention and time. We crave that ass.
I thought you were going to be much classier about it.
No, I'm not. Because it's vulgar. Because men are vulgar creatures. We're base animals.
That's so good.
We're a step above primates when it comes to sex. But it is what it is.
If we get back to this point that we're both making, because in this particular aspect we're on the same side here. When I talk about how how it's his fault that she stepped out with 3 other dudes, you're talking about like he's not making the time, he's being oblivious. On the flip side, you were just talking about like childlike minds. We know that when we deal with kids, they think they don't want to be punished, right? They act up, and then you got to punish them. You have to. Well, what happens when a kid gets older? If they went through their whole childhood not getting disciplined, they end up resenting their parents, even if their childhood was fun all the time. They grow up to be these really guys grow up to end up being criminals, and women end up growing up to be mad whorish and stuff because they didn't have discipline when they were younger, and they reach their mid-20s and their 30s and they're like, you know what, I really should have been told no, and they start resenting their parents for that. It's no different in a relationship. The way a woman will interact with a man in the confines of a relationship. You got to tell your girl no sometimes. And when I say you have to tell your girl no, sometimes it's not just don't sleep around with other dudes behind my back, because that's retarded. Well, you're not going to say that because that's supposed to already be implied. But what they are prone to do is engage in behavior that will eventually lead to that. So right off the bat, and this is why, like, when people first get together, they're supposed to really vet each other for a future in that relationship.
Yeah.
If you're dating a girl for 5-6 months and she's showing her ass on Instagram every other day, unless she's making money from it, you got to be like, what is this? You know? And the other thing, this is going into dating, and I don't really want to go too far into dating, but a guy should never be asking a girl to be his girlfriend. He's got to want, like, she's got to want the commitment from him. And then you can have that leverage to say,
It's,
well, no, because you're showing your ass on Instagram. You're
it's the old Patrice O'Neill adage. And we always go back to him because, let's be honest, he's the godfather of this.
That's the godfather right there.
He said, you should never be saying I love you before your woman does. Because that's their thing. They're the emotional ones, not us. What a lot of times happens is dudes get wrapped up in that lovey-dovey period and put their blinders on and don't see all the F shit that's happening. All the shit.
Let's also be honest. There's a bit of a game there because girls are also giving it really good in that period.
Yeah, but that's my point. You got to look past that. We're all as men guilty of this phase where, oh, it's the huggy boo boo schnookums phase where, oh, I just want her to be around and she's the best and she's great and I don't see anything wrong. You got to move past that. You got to look at the eye boogers in a face when she wakes up. You gotta have her fart and then smell that disgusting nonsense that comes out of her. You gotta see all the flaws and then decide if you want to be with her. You can't go into this thinking shit's gonna smell like roses forever. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's gonna get bad. You have to be prepared for that. It's not gonna always be bad, but there's gonna be bad times in every relationship. You can't think that shit's just gonna work out perfect 100% of the time.
Now, with this TikTok guy, I would say, like, if he had, when he was first dating this girl, said, like, noticed some of these cues, like noticed some of the red flags and nipped it in the bud before the relationship, before the commitment was established, and constantly reinforced, like, whenever he saw something bad, he would say, hey, I'm not putting up with this. This would not have happened, because
but that's what we do.
Over time, that respect would have been built. You're not just going to get respect. You got to get it in small amounts and build bricks. You got to stack bricks of respect to build that respect castle over time. You have to be very consistent.
That's my point. We always let up. Guys will start like that, but then we slow, like, it is a war of attrition.
I don't even think guys really start with that often.
But I'm talking about from my experience of what I've seen.
Yeah.
You'll see guys who will have their boundaries, who'll be just dickheads in the beginning, who'll treat the girl like shit. And eventually that guy goes away.
Noise. No, just kidding.
Yeah. And they turn into Mr. Lovey-Dovey Snugglesbear. You gotta be, it's a war. It's a constant battle. You have to continue. If you're the guy she met on day one, you got to be that same guy on day 3 million.
Yep.
You can't change.
Pro tip.
Give an inch.
Pro tip, guys. Yes, it's war and it feels like we're on opposing sides, but secretly, and they don't want to admit this, they want you to win. And then they want to just stand next to the winner.
Women, it's Patrice O'Neill again. You keep bringing up the stuff that I have to say it. It's exactly what he said. Women don't want to win. They want a winner. They don't want to go
hard.
Yeah, they don't want to go out there and conquer the world. They want you to conquer the world and be with the guy who conquered the world. Like, again, we always talk about Beyonce and Jay-Z. When Beyonce was before Jay-Z, she's putting out albums constantly. Now that she's with him, she's happy being a housewife. She puts out an album once a decade. If that, she's happy with being with one of the biggest winners in the world. And let's be honest, again, I'm not down in the guy, but he looks like something that we all chewed and spit out.
He looks funny.
He's a
He looks
weird
funny.
looking dude.
He looks so much cooler back in the day. Now he
Yeah,
just
but
looks.
he's also a billionaire, so
He's just
whatever. It
leaned
doesn't
in.
matter.
He's like
It does,
leaned into some craziness.
yeah, and again, it doesn't matter because he's a billionaire. He could not comb his hair for the rest of his life. He could have one side be dreadlocks and the other side shaved. He could have no eyebrows, and people would say, "Oh, that's Jay-Z."
Yeah. But also to both of their credit, like his direction of her career is a massive amount of where her success is even coming from. She can go out on tour tomorrow and it'll be the biggest tour on the planet.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but
That's
but
perform at the Super Bowl. That's why, you know.
but that's my point. Like, I know the male impetus is to feel bad for guys when you hear this story. And there's a lot of divorce stories where I generally feel bad for the guy. Like, I feel bad for Nas.
Yeah.
Nas and Khalees, that situation's fucked up. They weren't
You know
together
what though?
for decades.
I feel less bad today about it because I have seen them do things together and get along in the name of child.
No, I'm just talking about how she tried to just take everything he had after like 2 or 3 years of marriage. They weren't together for a long time. You had a career before, figure some shit out.
She was doing fine.
Yeah.
You know I mean, like
this isn't that situation. That situation, like, okay, that's fucked up. I feel bad for that guy. A regular situation like the one that this guy's describing, yo, you had her for almost 2 decades, and you were the guy who, look, again, from the story you're mentioning, seems like the person who said, you stay at home and raise the kids while I work, which is that's a part of being a man. That's the give and take. If you want that dichotomy, if you want your wife to be a stay-at-home mom because you don't want your kid in daycare and you want your loving wife to take care of your kids, then when shit goes south, this is the results. Eat it. Take it on the chin.
Yeah.
It's just like any consequence. If I go into a bar and pick a fight with the biggest guy, one of the consequences, I'm going to get knocked the fuck out probably.
Yeah.
I took that chance.
So here's the section where I slightly deviate. Like I don't all the way deviate, but I slightly deviate. Because you're not wrong at all on this one, because we have a masculine burden of performance, and therefore we have a masculine burden of doing our research and having this knowledge beforehand so that we don't get so caught off guard by the horrible things that can happen to us.
We were talking about that. I was going to go into that next about, the education of how divorces and marriage work.
Yeah. But where I deviate is you said he was married for what, like 17 years?
No, that's what he said. He said they were married for 17 years.
So they were married for 17 years, and you said he looks like he's in his early to mid 40s?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing about the masculine burden of performance and the masculine burden of acquiring the knowledge to keep these things from happening to us is it takes time for this to build a lot of the time. And it is very likely that 17 years ago, when he was in his mid 20s or maybe late 20s, that he just wasn't there yet in terms of knowing. So that's why I might feel like some sympathy for him in that regard. Now, if he was only married for 4 years and this happened to him and he's in his like early 40s, I'd be like, well, I mean, what, you're supposed to know. This is why I don't feel bad for dudes whose second or third wives do this to them. I'm like, well, you're an idiot. Why'd you get married again? You're a fucking loser. You learn from the first 2 wives that fleeced you that women are going to fleece you because you're that guy who gets fleeced. Like, you didn't get it. So I don't feel bad for those guys. If this is this guy's first marriage and he was with her for 17 years, he was essentially a kid when they got together, and kids don't know anything. So that's where I do get some.
You know what? And this is where we deviate. This is where we deviate. Yes, he was probably a kid in his early or mid 20s when they got married. I get that. But that's not an excuse for ignorance. 17 years ago, the internet existed. 17 years ago, there were men around he could have spoken to. 17 years ago, the divorce rate was almost as high as it is now. It hasn't changed that much in the last 17 years. You can still educate yourself. But what kids do, what 20 to 25-year-olds do is they believe they're invincible. Shit just can't happen to me.
Yeah.
Like nobody gets AIDS on purpose. You raw dog a chicken, you're like, oh, ain't nothing gonna happen. Nobody gets an STD by accident. You don't sit the old I sat on a toilet seat and got it. That's a myth. It's not real. You fucked a dirty girl, you fucked a dirty guy, you came away with the ninja. That's how it works. What you do is you plan for it. You know that STDs are out there. So what do? You wear a condom. Or you abstain, or you do whatever you can to not catch it. But you can't claim ignorance once you've caught it. You can't claim that you don't know about STDs because maybe I wasn't taught enough in school. Well, that's your fucking fault. Learn. Books are real. The internet exists. The information is out there. If you don't have access to it, that's different. If you're in a third world country, which this doesn't even apply to, but let's just say it does. If you're in a third world country with no access to the internet and books aren't readily available, you can claim ignorance. By all means, have at it. But if you're in America, no. Even if you don't have internet in your home, the library's open. Even if you don't have internet in your home, you can go to Barnes and Nobles. They got free internet at McDonald's. Like I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear you saying that you didn't know that this was a possibility. Because it's always going to be a possibility. It's never going to stop being a possibility. Robbie, there?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fact. Like we live in a world where we're in the United States, right? And there's a big situation where people from a lot of not well-to-do countries are coming here. So I know stories of people who have on foot managed to get here, and this is back in the 80s. So they were like fixing VCRs and TVs and stuff, like, and they would find a way to sell that to people to the point where today they've made it. And there was no real internet back then. So it's like when I hear stories like that, it does make it harder to feel bad for this guy who did have the information available, but was probably dicking around, maybe playing Call of Duty too much.
that's it goes into financial literacy. It goes into a lot of other things that, like, there were gatekeepers. The information wasn't always available, but we don't live in that era anymore. If you don't know about something, it's your fault you don't know about it because it exists on the internet. If, like we talked about the Level Up episode, if you want to learn about the stocks, you can go right to the internet and get a quick crash course. You're not going to know everything, but you're going to find out about a lot of stuff you didn't know. If you don't know about divorce and marriage and some of the pitfalls, you can go on any website, any marriage website, and they'll tell you about it. There's whole videos that divorce attorneys will put up, the good ones, not the scumbag ones, the good ones, who are teaching people the pitfalls of divorce and what to look out for and what not to. You have friends, you have family. If the divorce rate is 65%, there's a good chance somebody in your family's been divorced. Talk to them.
Facts.
Don't claim ignorance afterwards and then look for sympathy. Because I'm gonna be you're gonna get it from a lot of people. Like, I'm sure this guy got a lot of TikTok friends out of this. But I don't give a shit. Like, you're a grown man, you're in your 40s. It didn't work out. Dust yourself off. The worst thing you can be to me is a whiny man. Because that's beta male 101, whining. You can complain all you want as long as you're trying to fix something, but just whining just to whine about something, go kill yourself. I don't care. Your wife took $100,000 of your 401k. Yeah, she deserved it. Was that stuff you made while you were married? Yeah, that's hers. Yeah. It's legally her property.
I think people are also resistant to learning new things in general.
Like, yeah, that's human nature.
Like it does, like it's, I don't want to call it laziness, but for something like I'm trying to learn more and more about crypto as we get along here, and sometimes I'm like, I still don't get what this is, but you know, you learn on the fly. It's what you
But
kind
that's
of
the
have to
point.
do it.
It's the impetus of wanting to even learn. You're not going to say, okay, the whole Dogecoin thing just happened. Let's say, you know, you're friends with somebody who was a millionaire off of that, who hit it big. I know you well enough to know that you're not the type of person to be mad at this person for making it. You're going to want to try to learn how he did it and copy it.
Fact. Cut and paste.
Yeah, because you're going to try to fix the situation rather than, oh, well, my friend made it. Oh, I wish it was me. Oh, man. No, fucking figure it out. Do something about it. And again, marriage, when you get divorced, it sucks. There's never a happy divorce. It doesn't exist. But you can do something about it. You can take efforts to make sure that that doesn't happen again in the future. You can secure your own wealth, but don't complain about her taking what she rightfully owns. Because again, it's not about right or wrong. It's not about fair or unfair. It's about the law. Legally speaking, she deserves half. Half of what you earn after marriage is hers, and half of what she earns after marriage is yours. You don't like it? Talk to your senator, write your congressman. Because other than that, there's nothing more you can do about it except be aware of the law. Like, there's unjust laws. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying that that's how it should be. I'm saying that's how it is.
Comes back to that phrase. I'm not here for how it should be. I'm here for how it is.
Like, I'm a black man in America. I don't want to hear shit about fairness. I don't care. Like, I don't want to hear it. Like, I'm gonna have to have a conversation with my half black, who's gonna be looked at fully black no matter where he goes, son, about how to act when the police are around. Is that fair that I have to have that conversation, but Chad Mendelbaum down the street doesn't? No, but it's a fact of life.
I'm applauding that made up name.
I tried to get the whitest name I could think
That
of.
was fantastic.
If you say Chad to me, immediately white guy pops in my head. That's why I went with that name. But it's it fair that he doesn't have to have that conversation with his son and I do? No, but that's life in America. I want to reduce the chances my son gets shot in the face by a rogue cop.
Right. Like, are you going to not have the conversation just because it's not
fair? That's what I'm saying. Am I going to not prepare my son properly just on the hopes that I think things should be better? No, I'm fucking Batman. I'm not Superman. I'm not Captain America. I'm planning for the worst and hoping for the best. And I'm not going to complain if I didn't plan for the worst and then the worst happens. That's my fault. That's another thing. You're gonna, again, guys, I'm gonna be very consistent for however long we do this podcast. You're gonna hear the same things from me. Accountability is a big thing with me. It's your fault if you don't do the job properly. It's not anybody else's. If you sign up for a car note that's out of your range, that's your fault. Don't complain that the car is too expensive. Don't complain that, oh man, they just got me for my credit. Oh man, they should have gave me a better deal. No, you signed it. I remember back when we were growing, I'm dating ourselves, guys. When we were growing up and Diddy was actually in music and not into all the bullshit he's into now. The whole Locks fiasco. There was a rap group, the Locks, and he gave them a shit contract. I was not against him when that happened. It's fucked up that it happened, but two factors are what I looked at, even though this is 20 plus years ago and I'm way younger than I am now. The two factors I was looking at, one, these are all grown adults that he signed. He didn't sign kids. He signed grown ass men to contracts. The second thing is he's known for giving out shit contracts. You got to know going in, this is what he's going to do to you. If I get into if you're, this is MMA lane for you.
Yeah.
If you're in MMA and you're gonna fight a guy who's good on his hands, who's good, he can't wrestle, but he's good with his hands, you can't go in saying, oh well, I'm just gonna stand up and fight and hope for the best. There's a chance you're gonna get knocked out. This is what he's known for. Same thing with this. Like, I don't have the patience for people who claim like things are so hard and I can't XY. Like I don't care. I really don't. It's heartless, whatever you want to call it. I just don't have the patience for it. I mean, am I wrong for of course I'm evil, whatever. I'm not even gonna ask, am I wrong for that? I'm evil. It is what it is. I just don't have the patience for it. I really don't. So Rob, the last thing I want to discuss, and this is back to the bringing it back to the beginning, is marriage worth it?
Case by case.
You got to be more elaborate. You got to elaborate more.
Like, so if you look at the stats, right? Everyone's like, oh, more than 50% of marriages are end in divorce. It's worse than that, actually.
65.
It might be worse than that. You really can't count marriages that started 40 years ago. Like, I don't give a shit about your grandparents that they stayed together. Guess what? Marriages worked a long time ago. And guess what? Your grandparents cheated on each other. And your grandpa probably beat your grandma. It happened.
And your grandma didn't have a choice.
Right. Like, it happened. You know what I mean? Everyone stayed together for the kids, and that's just how your family exists. So if you're asking them, sure, it works, but you're going to have to take a smack in the mouth every now and again if you're asking your grandparents. I'm not asking my grandparents, because if I ask them, they're going to say no, you know? Of the marriages that last, how many of them are happy? No way of really telling, because you know what? If you ask all of the people in marriages that are lasting, some of them are going to lie. You know what I mean? It can be. The work involved is very painstaking, and the work involved in making a marriage work is what may not be worth it for some.
But that goes like I'm, and this is the hopeful part of me. I don't want to buy that. Like, I don't want to live in a world where marriage is so fucked that it's not even worth doing. Like, I would love to live in a world where men could say, you know what? I love this person. I'm going to be with them for the rest of my life. Shit goes downhill. I accept what could possibly happen. Not that I'm so afraid of what could happen that I'm not even going to take the chance, but that I accept that this is a possibility and just plan for it. Like, maybe it's just me, just fucking plan that shit could go bad. Like you said, have your money in crypto that you can't find. Do whatever you got to do to make yourself feel better. Have a bitch on the side, whatever you got to do to make yourself feel better. But don't just wipe out the entire concept of marriage just because you're scared of it, or you're scared of what could possibly happen. I don't know. Maybe it's just, like I said, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the one who's a little hopeless in that case. Rob, anything else to add?
No. It's one of those things. It's like there's no real conclusion. So for anyone who's listening out there, it's like you don't want to get advice from us if that's what you're thinking, because what works for either one of us may not be what's going to work for you. But what will work in some way is be on your game. Whether you're going to get married or you're not, there's no way you're going to just, unless you're going to be a monk or you're going to be celibate, there's no way you're not going to get into a relationship. You know, there's only so many Leonardo DiCaprios in the world.
And even they stop at some point.
Their whole life. You know what I mean?
But even that's my point. Even they stop, but fucking around at some point.
Leo hasn't. Leo sees.
I thought he got married.
Did he?
I thought so. I'm pretty sure.
I don't pay attention to his life.
I don't. He's lived the
There's only so many Derek Jeters, because Derek Jeter's married now, right?
Yeah, he's married. He's definitely married. I know for sure.
So many Derek Jeters of the world. If you're obviously not going to make as much as Derek Jeter in this lifetime, the average listener, but you're only going to be able to live that life for so long. And Derek Jeter did everything on his terms. You have to make it your terms if you're a guy listening to this and you're thinking about marriage, because the deck is stacked against you as a guy. But
Yeah.
if you want a decent life for your kids, it is something you got to consider. But kids need fathers. And if you're going to be a father, that means there is a responsibility of being sort of a patriarch in your home. And secretly, no matter what feminism tells you, that is what a woman who wants a good life wants. So don't listen to feminism.
Modern feminism.
Don't listen to modern feminism if you want to be in a good marriage and a good relationship.
And don't go in thinking that you don't have a say in how this comes out. You're one of the main people that decides how this works. At the end of the day, it's going to be mostly up to you as a man. You got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. You can't just think, okay, shit's just going to work out. You got to plan for shit. And if you don't, you're going to get what you get. And if you do get something terrible, oh, well, sucks for you. I don't.
We're on
like
your.
I said, I don't want to live in a world where human beings need relationships. We're built off having companionship. We're tribal. There's very few people who are okay living by themselves. I'm one of them. I'm not going to say even me. Eventually, I want somebody to be around. Most guys, we want you nearby. We just don't want you around. Women, I know that's going to make women have an aneurysm trying to figure that out. But we want you nearby. We just don't want you around all the time. But we still want to know you're there. We want that companionship.
We do want, yes, there we go. We do want the companionship, but we need our decompression time, and our decompression time does not have anything to do with women.
Again, guys, this is our views on the situation for the guy in the TikTok video. Look, I get it. You've been through something bad. You're in your feelings. I understand. I've been through it myself. My outlook is, again, it's very simple. Be a fucking man before it gets to that point. Take the precautions beforehand. To cap it off, be Batman, not Captain America.
Yeah. There it is.
So for Rob, I'm Ace. We're going to catch you guys on the next time. Again, like, subscribe, do all those buttons, email, with all that stuff you got to do. We'll hit you on the next time.
Excellent show tonight.